I think the relationship between HR and mobility is really critical to any successful mobility program. Mobility can't stand alone and do everything that needs to be done to relocate an assignee. So it really matters to have that relationship and partnership with the HR team. So whether the HR team is handling a majority of the relocation tasks or it's the mobility team, that link is really critical to ensure a smooth transition for the assignee. And we found over the years when there is a missing link between the two teams, the relocation is much less successful. So from the point of even beginning the conversation about an international assignment, it's really critical to partner with both the home location and the host location, HR business partners, and that will really help to ensure that every facet of the assignment as well as the employment is taken care of when an individual is relocating.
So basically, we are partners for this and for the approach. We do understand the complexities of the region, the complexity of immigration, taxes, benefits, and what we add to the table is so much more to the HR team than not involving us from the beginning.
I'm Natalia. I'm a senior global mobility specialist, and I've been working in the mobility field for over 15 years now, first in South America, where I'm originally from, and now in Europe, with a lot of oversight on Americas, APAC, and EMEA. But I'm going to focus on EMEA. And I think looking back, we had quite a colorful year. Loads of challenges, improvements across the board. As I was preparing for this mission, I was trying to summarize and pinpoint on some of them, and there is so much going on, but I guess the bottom line, and just to call out a few, there is a lot of consistency and harmony in terms of the digitalization and saving trees, going paperless, which I think it was trendy before COVID, and COVID enforced it. And it's a trend that is here to stay. And we're seeing that more and more in countries like Germany, Ireland, Spain. And that's certainly something that I'll take as a win from 2023, and certainly looking forward to more improvements in that area and potentially expanding to other countries in 2024. And with that as well, the focus on attracting more skilled workers in countries like Germany with a shift of immigration rules, and on the other hand, perhaps not so much encouragement and attraction to bring skilled workers in the UK with the recent announcements by the Home Office to cut net migration. So a little bit of color, different points of view and approaches in general, but overall harmony in streamlining processes, and also a lot of lessons learned and more to learn as the situations unfold across EMEA in terms of crisis management and planning. I think that we had a lot of that COVID last year with the crisis in Ukraine, and more recently in Israel to support transferees, assignees, local hires in terms of relocation, mobility, and people support, right? Not just the mobility side of it, but also as part of a people mobility function, the people touch.
From an APAC perspective, there's been, I guess, a few common themes, particularly through more so the Australia, New Zealand lens. We've had probably thanks to our state premier here in Victoria. So I live in Melbourne, which is the capital city of a state called Victoria, which is one state within Australia. So during COVID, our premier, so our COVID crisis management was managed at a state level from a country perspective. So the decisions at a federal level were not mandated, it was handled at a state level. And our state premier during COVID decided to basically lock us all away for 200 odd days, which, as some of you may have noticed, Melbourne was the highest locked down place in the whole wide world, which now in 2023 has still got impacts as far as attracting talent. and we're struggling to attract foreign workers from other countries. And talented individuals too. We have big holes in our education and skilled sector, particularly around the industry that I support at the moment, which is like in engineering, so rail signalling, those kind of technical skills. We don't have a lot of homegrown talent in that space. So we have to import it from the UK, for example. And actually somebody said the other day, they were kind of joking, but I think they were half serious in the fact that they were waiting for the UK winter so that everybody would get sick of the cold again and want to migrate to Australia. And that would be some sort of promoter to get them to move. But I think people's memories are a lot longer than what the politicians anticipated. And so it's a struggle, not only for our organisation, not only for Victoria, but for Australia and New Zealand, as countries as a whole, to migrate talent. So that's been one of the biggest ticketed items in the legacy hangover from COVID. The other side of that is that governments have kind of slowly cottoned onto that a year later, based on our corporate feedback as well. And so they've started to put in place some immigration reforms. So we're seeing kind of two big immigration changes across both Australia and Singapore from an APAC regional perspective. Singapore, they're kind of moving more into a little bit of that digitisation, Natalia, that you were talking about, with the new system called Compass for Singapore. But Australia are basically kind of almost cleaning house and doing a full reform when it comes to their migration system. I think they call it, I think the minister's calling it a once in a generation. I feel like when I started in this industry 17 years ago, I heard something very similar. So it's still the same lifetime for me, but obviously for her, it's a once in a lifetime change. But nevertheless, it's a big reform. We've already had a couple of big changes to our work visas and our permanent residency visas here in Australia. And they're promising another big announcement in the next 20 days before Santa Claus turns up. I don't know how that's going to go down. And then we're going to see more reforms kind of dribble through to 2024. Gosh, can't get my mouth around that. So it's going to be a long process for Australia in relation to the immigration changes. And New Zealand, I understand, is trailing as well. They're looking at doing some government changes and immigration changes in 2024 as well. So lots of legislative changes in our part of the world. And then the other big topic, I think, probably that came out of 2023 was the conversation I feel like has finally started around sustainability for global mobility in APAC. It had been quite silent for some time on both the corporate and the vendor partner or service partners side. So there's still minimal movement and initiatives being taken and put in action, but at least the conversation's starting and we're starting to get some traction around it. So I'm optimistic for 2024 in that space.
Hi, this is Sheila. I locate in New Jersey in the United States, and I've been in the global mobility industry for over 20-something years. And sometimes I will see Devika in some conference or webinar, and so I think personally, my dream is next year I can travel a lot, even though the traveling cost is extremely high these days. So hopefully I will be able to travel to Asia. There's my hope and dreams for next year personally. But from the global mobility perspective within the companies, I just hope that I can start looking into a lot of something related to the AI, since in 2023 a lot of companies looking for the AI is really supporting global mobility, and so I'm hoping that I can dig into it more and then help my job or help our teams to develop something then.
My name is Kristen Faison. I've been in this space now for about 14 years, and I would have to agree with you, Ursula, as far as the look forward. I think personally over the past, has it been like 6 months, 6 to not even 9 months, 6 months or so, I feel like we've just been inundated with all things AI. So I think that that's definitely on the horizon. When I look at what I have, however, been focused on within 2023, and what I also think will continue forward, at least for myself and my team from a mobility perspective, is really diving into and understanding, leveraging the importance of data when it comes to talent strategy, and looking to leverage data for the purposes of subsequently showcasing how global mobility can accelerate, can be tied into an organization's overarching talent strategy. So, it's been a big body of work of mine in 2023, and I know it will continue into 2024.
I've been in the immigration and global mobility space for over 20 years. Global mobility is the forefront of everything. And so here, global mobility is at the forefront of the table, and it's a very visible role. And I'm very excited. There are a couple of great initiatives that I'm working on, specifically with implementing technology to manage the global mobility program. And I'm super excited about that, and I'm looking forward to that in 2024. So lots of exciting things to come.
I've been around also for more than 20 years. I started from the tax perspective, then moved more to HR roles with global mobility in different companies. But this point that Vic is mentioning is really important. Global mobility end up being the nail that ensemble all parts together, and we have many stakeholders to report and to many stakeholders to comply with and keep happy. Concatenating that with what we are living for, or specifically the last 2 years with the employee experience, I just want to give a clap to all of you, because we always take care of the employee experience, but from everybody except global mobility members, and it doesn't matter if it's from the vendor perspective or inside the company. We need to also get to get the companies to look at the experience that we are developing, or that experience that we are also providing. We also need to have a better experience as a global mobility professionals. But still, we know that at the end of the day, global mobility, it's always the one who has the fault. So we can continue to that, and we are going to have a great time the next minutes talking with you.
I'm really excited to see how global mobility is going to evolve in the next few years. I feel like it has evolved quite a bit in the last few years, and it's been a really exciting space to be a part of. I am really hopeful that in the next few years or decades, we see a movement by the tax and immigration landscapes, as well as relocation programs, to better adapt to the mobile, remote global workforce that I think is coming out very strong after the last few years that we've had.
Global mobility is a lot of things, but at the core, it's moving people from one country to the other and helping them grow, whether it's in their careers or as a person, experiencing a whole other culture, and growing professionally and personally.